This video shall provide you with a full detailed information about Batumi city. My name is Alex Short, and if you are fluent in Russian, you can look for my videos in Russian language on YouTube. I live here for more than 3 years, and I think for the moment I know a little bit much than I knew before I came for living here. That's information I would like to share. This video should be useful for people who just come to Batumi or who plan to come to Batumi and has no information about what it is, what locations are here, and where it is comfortable to live, where it is not comfortable to live, etc. We shall start our introduction of the city from one of the most famous points in the city. It's the statue of Ali in Nino. You can find a lot of information in the internet about these statues, and I shall just mark it like a starting point, and we shall move from here to the old part of the city, right there. We are entering the historical part of Batumi city, and let me determine some very important things about the city. First of all, Batumi city populated with 150,000 people, so it is not a very big city. The main part of economy of the city is tourism, and during the season there can be about 500,000 people, tourists, at one time. So the city raises several times during the tourism season. When you come here for the first time, I strongly recommend you to live between the sea, between this part and between Chapchavadze street. You can find out this street on the map. It's about 500 meters from the sea, because from the other side of Chapchavadze street there appears local part of the city, and it is not comfortable to live here when you came here the first time and you don't know the city. You will not get the best impressions about this city for that time. Batumi city is about 7 kilometers long along the seaside and about 3 kilometers into the depth. So if we are talking about the city, we are talking about 21 square kilometers. In my Russian version of the channel, I divided Batumi into three important parts. The old city, the average city, if you can call in this way, and new Batumi. I'll describe all of them, and I shall take a walk along all of these parts to show you how does it look like and how does one part differs from another. There are three main languages are spoken in Batumi. The first and the main is of course Georgian, so if you are planning to a long stay, you should learn Georgian language. The second language is Russian, and if you speak Russian you should have no problem in communicating with Georgians, because quite everyone here speaks Russian. And the third language is English, and if you know only English, that should be a problem. Generally, yes. In the old part of the city, as for me, when I came here for living for the first time, I lived in a wrong place after Chapchavadze street, and if you are planning for a long stay in old part of the city, you must take a note that it is always crowded with tourists during the season, because everyone comes here and stay in small local hotels, and people from the other parts of the city, they are coming here just to visit this place, just to watch this beautiness. There are a lot of beautiful places here, so it's a good place even just to visit for a short stay. Tourist season in Batumi starts at the beginning of April and finishes at the end of October. The most crowded city is during the summer period. From June to the end of August, and even in September also. Prices for living in the old part of Batumi is rather higher than in other parts of the city, but if you come here for the first time, you should take a rent right here, because you shall need first impressions, and the best first impressions are on these small and cozy streets. It resembles a little bit maybe Italy or other European small towns, and it is comfortable to live here for a week or two. You shall take the best impressions, but for a long time, as for me, it is not very comfortable. That's absolutely my opinion, and maybe not everyone shall agree with me. Most part of videos about Batumi are extra positive, and they are made mostly by the tourists. or by real estate agents or by building companies. And the real picture, I think, it differs from one part to another, and also difference according to any person who comes here. So I would like to make a picture with my camera, and you just see what you see and make your own decisions about the city yourself. I think this video is for people who has brain. Walking along the old part of Batumi, I should take a note that places where people speak English, it's a little bit more expensive than places where people speak Georgian or Russian, because English. Generally, all we need to know about the prices here in the restaurant. The price for one person in a good restaurant with food and glass of wine, it will be about 25 and 30 laris. If it will be expensive, it is an expensive restaurant for tourists. Average price for good food, for good meal, is about 30 laris. Even you can take at 20 laris if you, for example, visit something like Aroma Italiani on Medea Square, on Europe Square, sorry. On my Russian version of a channel, they uploaded several videos on English language, and according to people who wrote me after this video, I understand that there is no exact information about Batumi in English. That's why I decided to make an English version of my channel. And as I said, if you are fluent in Russian, you can find Alex Short channel in Russian, and there are about 100 videos there about Georgia in general and Batumi exactly. Batumi exactly and Georgia in general is the most opened for coming places in the whole world. What I mean, the most opened. You don't need visa to visit Georgia. For most part of the countries, there are no reason in visa. So you can stay here for 365 days, and after that just leave it for visa run. And visa run you can make in the same day. For example, from Batumi you can travel to the Turkish border. It's about 15 kilometers from here. You're just crossing the border with Turkey, and you come back, and your 365 days are again refreshed. For the moment the border is closed, so you should travel by the airplane, and it will be a little bit more expensive, but generally it still works. You can come there and come back, and you can stay here again for 365 days. That free visiting is not available for some people. For example, for citizens of Iran, they can stay here just for 45 days, but for the most part of the world, for 180 countries if I'm not wrong, Georgia is open for 365 days all year round. About renting in Batumi, what are the prices? During the COVID situation, where there were no tourists and there were nobody to rent, of course the prices have fallen down. But during the tourist season, you can rent a flat with one bedroom, for example, in the central part of Batumi, I mean in this part, in Old Town, for about $300–400. It's absolutely okay. Of course you can rent and for $1,000, but it will be overpaid sum. I myself don't sell real estates and don't rent real estates, but I have been working in this sphere for 7 years, so I generally understand the market. And I see that here for some expats there are overpriced rents just because they don't have any information for this. Under this video I shall put a small link to the main website in Georgia, where you can rent not only from real estate agents, and you also can rent from the owners of a flat, so you can see the true prices. At these prices all people generally rent here. You can see the whole market. It's not the best website in the world, but there is enough information for a good rent here. What is the best reason to come to Batumi for living? The best reason is when you are working, like for example, you're working in the internet like me, so your job is in your notebook and you can live everywhere you want. So you can take one of the most beautiful places in the world, and the prices here for living is several times less, like in Europe or in America. And even one of my Canadian friends, he said it is cheaper to live in Georgia in 6 times than to live in Canada. What can I say about people here? People here are emotional, friendly, and nowhere in the world you can be greeted as heartful and warmful like in Georgia, but also nowhere in the whole world you will hear if you are not a good person. So Georgia indicates what person you are. If you are good, people here returns your goodness to you triple. And if you are bad, angry, aggressive, or close person, they will return it to you triple. As you will see it quite from the first moment of visiting this place. As I said before, when I came here to Batumi for living for the first time several years ago, I've made a mistake. I've taken a wrong place for living. I mean, a wrong place, wrong part of the city for living, and I didn't like it very much. That was, well, I understood the city in a wrong way because I taken a wrong place, and maybe today I shall walk to this place and show you, but for the moment it's okay because when I was living here for the first time, the whole street was crashed. There was a repairment work of the streets, and I've been living in a new built house that was not finished yet, so I've been living like in the center of a construction yard. That wasn't very pleasant, and I believe that people can avoid it. I shall mark that we are walking now at Maznyashvili Street 58, so it will be very easy to find this street on the map and to understand in what part of the old city I'm now. And I'm walking along the street up to the Chavchavadze Street. I told you before that this is a street after which I do not recommend you to rent or buy apartments. If you are coming here for the first time, you should take this decision only after you understand the whole city. And here we are on the Chavchavadze Street. It is one of the biggest streets in Batumi, and it is very crowded, it is very noisy as for me, and after this street, if we are walking along to that side from the sea, we shall see that houses become older and older, and the municipality invests less and less money to keep the city in the best condition after this street. That's the point I mean. By the way, this is the course buy and sell lari for today, for rubles, euros and dollars. We are getting back to the old street of the city, turning right from Chavchavadze Street, and we're coming back to the most comfortable and shy part of Batumi. I think I should take a meal and shall show how much does the meal cost in an average restaurant with a good cuisine and with absolutely normal prices. That should take about 1 minute. I shall just show you prices in usual Batumi cafe. It's a very pleasant place, very cozy. Inside is very cozy, but I would like to say outside because it's a good weather today. So you can take khinkali just for 1 lari. 1 lari it's about 30 cents. Yeah, 30 cents. So for a good meal you shall take 5 or 6 just these khinkalis and you will be okay. They shall bring it to me right now so you can see what it is. It's a mixture of meat and I forgot this word in English. Okay, so let's see the prices. It's a plate of cheese, 9 lari, so about $3. It's about $4, less than $4 because the course for today is $3.45 for $1. So let's just take a look here. All the prices is about 10-15 lari for a good dish, and even less than 10 lari for something like salad or etc. So from $3 to $5 for a dish, and the whole meal shall be about 30 lari, I think. I ordered 5 khinkalis. I ordered a special Ajarian hachapuri. It's one of the most famous Georgian dishes, and I shall take a cup of beer. Just I shall open several lists to show you what is very good here. Hachapuri it's also a very famous Georgian dish, and it costs from 8 to 15 lari. It depends on the size of this hachapuri and on the type of this hachapuri. It's like kind of pizza, but much more taste than pizza. with a special Georgian cheese, very good one, you should taste if you never tasted it. And here came my beer, and here came my dish. Okay. This is Georgian khinkali. Inside there is fresh meat and it's very juicy. So when you eat it, it's a great pleasure. Also, you can use a sauce, but I prefer to take a pleasure just from the khinkali itself, without any sauces. And khinkali and beer are made one for another. I forgot to say that this plate costs in a normal restaurant from 5 to 6 lari, and it is enough, for example, for a girl, but it is not enough for a boy. As for me, for a boy, it is necessary to take 10 khinkalis. But I ordered also khachapuri, that's why I took only 5 khinkalis, and it will be okay. Every good khinkali contains a great amount of a very tasty bouillon. So you first drink khinkali, then you eat khinkali. That's how it works. And here it comes, my famous Ajarian khachapuri. It's a mixture of cheese, dough of egg and butter. It's very, very, very tasty. So I shall mix this one, then I shall tear a part of this khachapuri, put it inside, and eat this mixture with a dough. It's very tasty. It's very calorious and it's very tasty. So my bill for this dinner is 19 lari. 19 lari, it's about $6, I'm sorry. You need to know, it's a very special thing, that 10% will be added to your bill quite everywhere in Georgia. It's a service tax and it is added generally as 10%. In some touristic places you can take even 15%, but you just need to know that this 10% is always added. That's why when you calculate your debts, you should know that you shall add 10% to your bill. It's not very big sum, and even when you pay this sum, I leave some for tea, some tips, I mean, because this sum not always come to a person who serves you. I refueled myself so we can continue our walking. The dinner costed me, costed me 20 lari. I left 5 lari as a tip. It's a big sum for the tip because always as a tip you shall leave from 10 to 15%. But it's a hard work to work like a waiter, so I think this money shall be good for them. It's my opinion. It's not a recommendation how much to spend. It's for every budget different. It differs from a budget to a budget. And here are the prices for grocery. For example, 4 lari for cucumbers, 4.50 for tomatoes, 3.50 for tomatoes, 3 lari, 1 lari and a half. And if you remember, dollar costs 3.5 lari for one. The fruits here are mostly Georgian. Also, some part of fruits comes from Turkey. That's why they are not very expensive. And Georgian tomatoes has a taste of tomatoes. It's a great deal, by the way, because as far as I remember, during traveling, not in every country the fruits and vegetables has tastes and smells. And I'd like to eat tomatoes and smelling tomatoes. The other interesting part of Batumi is animals. Kitties, dogs, they are just walking along the streets. They have chips on their ears, so they are not aggressive and they are not dangerous to people. You can just play with them, and it's absolutely okay in Georgia to see on the street the animal and to play with it. It won't bite you, it won't be aggressive. You can feed them here. It's like walking along the contact zoo in Batumi, contacting with dogs and cats. If you like such things, you'll be very pleased of seeing this here. As I said, the architecture of old Batumi is quite impressive, and there are some streets that are very shy, so you can live here for a long time, not only like a tourist, but also like a citizen of this beautiful town. About the real estates, All prices in Georgia are quite low according to the prices of other countries. So it's one of the cheapest country for living with one of the best climates. It's underestimated for living. As for me, the price of living here is underestimated. It's not estimated as well as it needs to be, because the climate, the people, and the beautiness of cities and nature, I think they cost much more than they cost right now. I've seen a motorcyclist, and I want to point that traffic in Batumi, most part of people say that traffic in Batumi is rather aggressive. I drive car here, and for me it is like a lazy one, but for example, the whole traffic are moving, and one person aggressive is trying to move very fast in these small streets, and this person can make much loud noise, and maybe because of that people think that traffic is aggressive. And also, when you are walking along when you're crossing the street, you need to know that quite no one shall stop. Yeah, that's a bad point, but that's true. You should watch yourself crossing the street. It can be dangerous. This is a nice piece of art in the center of old Batumi, the art museum. It's Soviet architecture, and I need to say that Soviet architecture was very dull mostly, but some parts of this architecture are very interesting to see. It was very straight and not interesting. The most part of buildings were quite the same, but some pieces of art was rather beautiful. For example, like this art museum. We are slightly moving from the old part of Batumi to the so-called middle part of Batumi, and as for me, middle part of Batumi is less comfortable for living than old one or new one. Let me explain why. By the way, the middle part of Batumi starts from the park of 6th May. Because the middle part of Batumi, it's a mixture of Soviet architecture that is very dull and new built houses, and they are built very tight one to each other, so there is a problem with parking. There are too much people living in one area, and as for me, I prefer new Batumi, and I'll explain later why, or old Batumi, and I already explained what is beautiful and comfortable in this part of this city. Now I shall move along the streets that, according to my opinion, divides the old historical part of the city. And as I told you, no one stops when you cross the street. I shall move along this street down to my car just to replace it, because I'm making video about the whole city. And for the moment, I passed about 1.5 kilometers from that point where I started this video. I just entered the place where cooks coffee, so espresso and americano cost here about 3 lari. It's less than $1, and I'll take a perfect coffee. It will be cooked right here in the cafe machine. So the price of a good coffee in Batumi is about 90 cents. Here it is, and it's absolutely enough. You can take coffee here even for 9 laris or 10 laris, but average price in the city is about 3-4 laris per coffee. As I said, street food is something barbaristic for Georgia, because feeding here is a process with toasts, friends. It's a kind of cultural thing. That's why most part of street foods you can take on the streets of Batumi, it will be Turkish one, like diners, so nothing special. The Georgian cuisine shall be in Georgian restaurants, and generally I think it's one of the most tastiest cuisines in the whole world. It is very calorious. Yes, of course, many dishes here are very calorious, and you will take 1 or 2 kilograms plus, but that will be that kilograms that you will not regret about, because you shall taste such things that you never tasted before. The cuisine is very, very tasty. As I said, we are leaving the old part of Batumi city and we are entering the middle one. But before we shall enter the middle one, I shall take a walk down to the Batumi Boulevard. And you need to know that Batumi Boulevard is situated along the whole city. So between the city and the sea, there is Batumi Boulevard all the way long. It's very long and it's very comfortable to take a walk. Wherever you live in Batumi, you shall take a walk on the boulevard, and after that you shall take a walk along the sea. It's very pleasant and it's very beautiful. Take to the note that the street that divides old Batumi and the middle Batumi is Melikashvili, according to my point of view. So from the left side of me there is a university, Batumi University, and there is also Hilton, and we are taking a walk to the park, to the Batumi Boulevard. It's called Batumi Boulevard, but some part of it is like a park, some part of it is like a square, and some part of it is like just a walking road. I think Batumi Boulevard deserves a separate video because there are so much interesting things here, from the square of Japanese friendship up to very interesting walking roads. There are a lot of objects here that deserve, I think, generally a big separate video. So I shall make one. And now I shall take a car and move it to the border of Middle Batumi and New Batumi, and we shall continue acquainting with the Middle Batumi. I moved myself to the New Batumi, and so the Middle Batumi shall be the third part. There are doggies. They are very friendly. You can play with them every time you want. And that's a great pleasure of being in Batumi, because you can play quite with every dog on the street. They have chips on their ears, so they are not dangerous. But this one has no chip, but she's also friendly. I think I shall feed them a little. Feeding dogs in Batumi, it's like a kind of attraction. They do like it. It's a kind of emotional therapy. Come on, it's okay. It's absolutely okay. Some dogs are nice enough. She divided the whole food into 2 piles. Then she said to another dog, go away. Then she started to eat 1 pile, and after that she will eat the second one. That's how I take a company walking along the Batumi, right? Hey, friendly, let's go. By the way, I must say that dogs, they moderate the boulevard. When a person moves along the walking side of the boulevard, not along this road for bicycles, the dogs are running and crying, go away, go away. And the person have to turn right and to move along this path. We are in the New Batumi now, and this is a building is Batumi View. It's called Batumi View. I think you can find in the internet. prices here are from $1,600 per square meter up to $2,500 per square meter. I made a review, kind of review on these buildings, but in Russian. I think I shall make some of it in English. But the price for Batumi, 1,600 for white frame, it's rather expensive. The place is very good because they are standing quite near the sea, so you are leaving your house and you are entering the sea. But as for me, I prefer not to have a bath inside the city. I'm going to Goni, or I'm going to, for example, Green Cape. There is much more clean sea, and when you are local, when you are living here, it is more comfortable to take bath there. That's how the plage looks like right now. So it's kind of a wild plage, and it's rather narrow here, so I cannot say it's 100% comfortable. But people comes here, make some fried meat here on the stones and take a great pleasure. At the beginning of this video, I've been in the one part of Batumi. Now I'm at the another part of Batumi, 7 kilometers dash. There is a fence of the airport. Quite after this fence, there is an airport. And I live in New Batumi, and I prefer it much more than other parts of Batumi, and let me explain why. What is the New Batumi? New Batumi is a big road of Lech and Maria Kaczynski. From one side there is a sea, from the other side there are buildings. It's a new part. Before it was called, and it is still called Adlia, and most part of houses on the second line of Adlia is 1 or 2 staged houses. So there are not so much buildings on the second line here. For the moment, the main point of New Batumi is Metro City, or as we call it, Euphoria. It's a big building with a trading center inside, with a big hotel, and with the biggest casino in Nigeria. It is situated about 1.5 kilometers from here. I mean 1.5 kilometers from the airport. And it's a separate cluster where you can find all you need, from foods to dress, and all you need, generally all you need for comfortable living here. So I prefer to live in a silent place on the third line. The prices for real estates there are quite cheap. At the moment when I was buying real estates, it costed me about $400 per square meter, and now their prices there are from 450 in a building, in buildings that are building, and up to, as I said, 2,500 here on the first line. So the difference is 6 times. The pleasure of New Batumi is that it is not as tight as middle one. It is not as expensive as historical part of Batumi, I mean per square meter for living. And you live in a kind of mixture between a village and a big city. So you have the shyness of a village, and you have all you need from big city, from that big trade center, Metro City, as I told you. And I'll show it to you a little bit later. If you are devoted lover of the first line, I can tell you that in very simple house like this or this, you shall find the real estates for price from $600. I made several reviews on buildings here, and 660 was the lowest price in the building that is behind this one. You can also find some offers on this first line for the price 400, but this price is for building that are not building at all. So people are trying to just throw away these flats for a very cheap price. That's why be careful. It's a nice way of living on the first line. So you just coming from the hotel, just crossing the streets, and you see the sea. As I said before, I prefer to take bath somewhere in Gonio or on the Green Cape, but it's absolutely okay to swim here. I like the perfect cleanliness of the sea. That's why I take a car and drive by car to these places. But a lot of people are diving bathing here. I made video review about bee residence. If you are fluent in Russian, you can find this review on my channel, Alex Short, in Russian. I did not make a review about Colombia, but because I live here, I see that for a couple of years they were not built nothing new, and here flats are very cheap. But it's a house of shipmen, as I remember, because some flats here are sold to the shipmen who work on the ships and then can pay for it by their salary when they are working in this company that built this house. But I don't know why they do not continue the building. Maybe because of Corona. In this building, prices are also cheap enough, about $700 per square meter, and it's a great difference with this building, yes, where the prices starts from 1,500 or 600, sorry. That building is from $630 per square meter up to $1,000 per square meter. And for this building, I already did not make a review, but I think I shall come to this company and make two types of review, and in English and in Russian. Now we shall take a look at New Batumi from the inside. As I told you, I'm living about 500 meters from the sea. It is the second road from the sea. The first one is Lake and Maria Kachinsky. It's about 400 meters from here. And the distance from my house to the sea is about 700 meters if you are walking straight and left. You can take a walk right this way, or you can take a walk this way. The kind of living here is like living inside the village, but very close to everything, so you can enjoy fresh air. There are not so much cars here, there are not so much people here, and you just can take a walk along the street like in a small village. But in 5 minutes you shall be in the center of the city. Inside of New Batumi, as I said, there are a lot of small houses, but the new blocks are already starting to build here. And as I said, I prefer to live here because it's not very tight places between buildings, so you can feel free here. And I have a perfect view to Sarpi from my window, about 30 kilometers dash, and that's rather impressive. If you will find my Russian version of the channel, sometimes I show the view from my flat. New Batumi is about 1.5 kilometers into depth. After that, there starts Helvachauri, and it is still a part of Batumi, but it's well, as for me, it's very tight and uncomfortable place to live. So Helvachauri, I think, is not a good idea to buy or to rent a flat for a person who never lived here. I came to the riverside in the New Batumi, and this part of riverside is under construction for the moment. They just put a bus stop, but they did not make the territory around here. And they also made borders of the river this year, and for the next year they shall make this road, and it will be straight to the Lake and Maria Kachinsky. And it's very good. They are working, they are making a new city, and it looks better and better from time to time. We are approaching to the road, and I made a review for this building about a year and a half ago, but for the moment, as I know, there are no flats in this building. But in these buildings there are flats, and I also made a review in Russian. I think I'll make it in English also. Here prices starts from $600, like that, something about this, and it is very close to the sea. And well, I think it's a good location, but you need to know that there is a river here. So as for me, it is minus, because during the summertime, I think there are some insects here from the water. And the road here, as you see, is absolutely perfect. It's new, they made it this year. And as I said, it took about 10 minutes to come to the main infrastructural object, Metro City. The road behind Metro City was crashed for a couple of years, and as far as I understood, this year the government of Batumi forced this company, Turkish company Metro, to fix this road to make it okay. And that's a good news, by the way. So in 10 minutes walking along the village, we came to a big city. and it is a metro city. As I said, there is shops, there are food store, there are big casino, big 5-star hotel, and a great parking behind this place. That is called Euphoria, or you can know it as Eclipse, or you can know it like Metro City Apartments. From that side there are apartments, this side is hotel, and here is the biggest casino in Nigeria. And the parking is about I think maybe 500 cars or 1,000 cars. And the main thing because of which I like New Batumi is a new park of Lake and Marie Kaczynskich. It was made not so long ago, maybe about 5 years ago. All trees are here new, and only on that part of this park there are big trees. Also all other trees are small ones, so it looks like maybe like Antalya, but it's very comfortable here because all roads are new and you are walking. It's a big playing ground for children. Right here I'll show it right now. And there is a straight way to the sea on the beach. Here is a big playground for children. It's absolutely free. There are no difficult attractions here, but children are playing here and there. So it's a rather big and comfortable place for parents and for children. Parents are sitting on on the benches watching how do children play, and that's I think that's comfortable. The end of New Batumi is behind, according to my division, is behind that Orbi Beach Tower. There starts in middle Batumi, and I'll explain how do I divorce these two parts of the city. Yeah, a good place to start. As I said, in New Batumi there are no old Soviet blocks, so there is no mixture of new buildings and old buildings, and New Batumi is not as tight as middle one. So after that building I'll show you what happens in that part of Batumi, and explain why do I differ these two parts of the city. My friends are with me, they protect me from all problems that can happen in my life, and they are making their own business also during this walk. This is extremely good place for picnic on the seaside of a small channel. On the side of a small channel you can just sit here and take a meal, a glass of wine, to sit with friends, to play with dogs. Yeah, up, let's go. Taking a look to this New Batumi, just taking a look to this side, you see the tightness between buildings, and then there is quite no space between them. I'll come a little bit closer to show what is there. This is Orbi Beach Tower. If you appreciate living in the center of construction yard, you should take an Orbi. In this part of New Batumi, between the middle Batumi and new one, the seaside is rather narrow, so you see the road is very close to the sea, and you can drive along the road watching the sea. And that way there is a square of Lake and Marie Kaczynskich. It's a bigger area, and it is more comfortable for walking, for taking some physical activities. But people who live here, they also come to the seaside, to this little sport gym. That's how does open sport gym look like. That kind of small gyms, they are placed all over the Georgia, even in small towns, and you can take sports whenever you like. They from time to time paint it again. It wasn't painted for a long time, but most part of these sport gyms are well painted and looks like very nice. And we now slightly entering inside the middle part of Batumi. As I told, there is a mixture of old buildings and new ones. They are put them very tight to each other, so sometimes you can say hello to your neighbor in the next to you building, just opening the window. It's very, very I don't like it, as for me. And you must be very careful when you are walking along the road, because not every person are ready to stop. But I'm big enough and they see me, I think it's okay. When I say that middle Batumi is not comfortable for me, I don't want to say that it's a bad place in general. It's okay, a lot of people live here, a lot of people who were born here, for example, or a lot of people from foreigners who bought here a real estate, for example, here and there. But for me, it is a very tight place with exceeding number of people on a square meter, as I feel it. So it's a little bit noisier, it's a little bit more difficult to park your car here, for example. That's why I prefer to live in more open spaces. Anyway, the government are taking care about even these parts of a city. They are making new walking streets, they are making new roads, so it's absolutely okay, absolutely straight road here, and cars are moving, but the road is rather narrow, and there are a lot of people, as I said, a lot of people per square meter. But if you are citizen of a big city, maybe you even cannot sleep without hearing of a noise of a big city, and maybe this place will be the best for you. Just take a look. This is a sport yard for basketball and football players, and children are playing here, and the government takes care about it. Very interesting type of garbage collectors. So the garbage downstairs is like in New York. You put garbage here and it falls down there. The absolute and ultimate advantage of Middle Batumi is that most part of infrastructural buildings are inside this part of the town. I mean, for example, schools or hospitals or some other government buildings, they are in the middle part of Batumi city. But generally Batumi is just 7 kilometers dash, so I cannot feel great distances here at all, as for me. So I can take a walk, even just walking along the city from one side to another. It will take about a couple of hours for me, just taking a walk along the seaside. Middle part of Batumi is overbuilt, as I told you, so the buildings are very close to each other, and there are a lot of stages here. So you can rent here, you can rent flat for the moment for $200. Even you can take a studio for $150 per month. It will be a long-term rent, so it won't be a touristic one, but it will be much more cheaper than to rent through Airbnb, for example, or something like that. By the way, this is a new recreation zone in New Batumi. It was opened only this year, so as I told, the government takes care of this part of the city too. So they are trying to build here new spaces for citizens, for people who come here for rest. And this orange building is Next Apartments. I made a review on this building on my Russian version of a channel several days ago. We were walking along this building with a girl from a sales department, and she told me that when it was starting at 2015, the prices here started even from $500 per square meter. It's a residential complex, so from infrastructure there is a small playground and there are flats. It has gas, so you can live here even during the winter. And for the moment of 2018, prices here was from $800 per square meter. It's for black frame. There are also such old buildings that were built during the Soviet Union period. Prices for rent and for buying flats here are 1.5 cheaper than in new buildings. But as for me, there are very old buildings, and they have quite 100% amortization, and I do not appreciate real estates in old building because the building itself is very old. It won't become more expensive anytime. And how does life happens inside these typical old yards? It's absolutely okay. So, by the way, there are people in Batumi who build houses for dogs, and dogs are living here, people feeding them, so they are just they make houses for dogs, and that's very cool. Our second author for today is a dog with the name Creature. It's my friend. She's living close to me. I feed her from time to time, and she walks with me along the whole city when I'm going to a walk. Sometimes she has some problem with other dogs, but she never gives up, and she goes with me from time to time. Let's take a walk about absolutely usual street of Batumi, in the middle Batumi, on the second line from the sea, and we can see how the city lives really, not how the touristic picture look like, but how does it look like really. So people are walking around the street. It's a good weather today, of course, and I can say that in rainy weather the picture shouldn't be so positive, but I see no reason to make videos in rainy weather because picture becomes very dark and unpleasant. And there is one of the biggest supermarkets in Batumi. It's a Walmart. There are 3 or 4 such shops in this city, and also the second one supermarket, I mean the chain of supermarket, is Carrefour. It's European, as far as I remember, European chain of shops. The absolutely plus of middle part of Batumi is that there are a lot of big and thick trees inside the city. They were not destroyed by builders, and that makes streets, I think, rather cozy. As I said, it's on streets you can buy everything from fruits to meat. Prices are rather, as for me, it's very cheap for fruits and meat, and there are these apples are natural. They were born in Georgia, and there are less pesticides than, for example, in Turkish ones. That's why me and other Georgians, they prefer even Georgian apples, because they are more natural, and the potato and other vegetables quite the same. Hey buddy, how are you? Very special constructive part of many buildings is metal lists that are placed on the wall. Why they make this? Because there are very hard rains here, and to keep flat, warm and dry inside, they just put these metal lists from the outside to keep the dryness inside the flats. You will see it everywhere in Batumi on many walls. And we are slightly moving to one very important place in Batumi. It's Alley of Heroes. I think if you are googling through the internet, you shall find a lot of offers of real estates on this alley. And I also made reviews on most part of buildings on this alley, but most part of them are in Russian, but some of them are in English, and they are on the channel. It is about 1.5 meters to Alley of Heroes. We can see these buildings. They are on the Alley of Heroes. And I shall take a walk along this small street just to show you its Orbi. I think if you looked some prospects about Batumi, of course you have seen the offers about buying real estates in Orbi. It's Orbi, I forgot, Orbi Twins. Now they are not Orbi Twins, they are Orbi Triple, because they decided to build one more building from that side. That's how it does look like, not in the advertisement, how it does look like in real. I mean, this is the second building, this is the first building. It's about 3,500 apartments in these two buildings. They are divided with small walls. It's like apart complex. It's like one big hotel. They are promising to build between these buildings a swimming pool, shops, and big infrastructure, that it will be like a city inside the city. For the moment, it looks like it looks like. So there are 2 receptions. One reception from this side, the second reception is from the other side, and according to the infrastructure, nothing more. And you cannot pass freely here because it's a construction yard. So that's it. From this building starts the Alley of Heroes. This is one of the entrances to the block C of Orbi City. and I shall take around this and we'll come to Alley of Heroes. I decided just to walk around to show you the place. From the other side it is old built blocks. It was a little bit renovated with balconies, with these blue balconies, but these blocks were built I think about 80th or 70th years of previous century. And the straight way to the sea. A long way along the Orbe finished, and we are now entering the Alley of Heroes. In straight forward me, you can see, by the way, my hand is very dirty because I've been playing with dogs. I need to clean the camera and heads. It's straight forward me, you can see this is the House of Justice, and behind it it's Courtyard Marriott, built by Allianz. This is one of the most unusual buildings in Batumi, and it's a kind of visit card of a city. From the right side of me there is a Sky Tower Hotel. From the left side there is a seaside with restaurants and singing fountains. And straight from me there is an Alley of Heroes. The best building on this alley, I think, as for me, is Mega Palace. It was built several years ago and it is quite good finished. Inside there is a good infrastructure with a swimming pool, with a sport gym. It was built by a real Palace group of companies, and I entered this building in one of my videos on my Russian version of a channel. So if you are interested, you can Google through YouTube and find out what is it inside. And let's take a walk along the Alley of Heroes. As I said, it is one of the most famous streets in Batumi and one of the biggest streets in Batumi, and the most part of new builds houses are here. Alley of Heroes is good for investment, as real estate agents say, and of course building companies say that it's a top location in Batumi, and you need to buy flat right here. It's very cheap, by the way, and it is rather so cheap that you cannot to buy it. Yes, the prices for real estate in Batumi is rather cheap, but you need to understand that business models that are drawn by building companies or real estate agents, they are a little bit different from a reality. What do I mean? Let me explain. The market of new built houses in Batumi, it's fulfilled with proposal from builders, proposal from resellers, and for the moment the market of reselling real estate in Batumi, it's not developed very well. So I mean, most part of people, they prefer to buy from building company and to own flats that they bought from building company, not to rebuy from a physical person or from investor. That's why if you plan to invest some money in Batumi, you need to understand that you should invest from 3 to 5 years. That doesn't mean that you should buy, for example, this year for $700 and next year you shall resell it for $900. It won't work so fast. I think the best horizon of investment is about 5 years, and you need to understand it, because when you speak to some people who sell you real estate, they promise you that you shall start earning money from tomorrow. You will earn a lot of money and you will get your money back in 5 years. That generally doesn't work. Before the crisis, I made the financial model of investing in Batumi, and I estimated averagely about 12% per year incoming. And this income you will not get only from renting. This income is a mixture of raising the price for real estates plus renting this real estate. So you can take about 12% from both of these types of investment, and not from only renting, as for example some builders promise you. We are taking our walk along the Dar building. It's about 200 or 300 meters from the sea. It is built from metal, glass and concrete. And as for me, it's one of the most beautiful buildings, most modern buildings on the Alley of Heroes. Inside this building, I mean inside the corridors, it is made with cheap materials, to tell the truth. But the prices here are rather cheap. It started from 600 a couple of years ago, and 700 last year it was, as far as I remember, or 650 maybe, like that. It was not a perfect apartment with a perfect sea view. Of course, it was the cheapest apartment with a poorest view from the window, but the price 650 on the Alley of Heroes, it's rather cheap. But I shall show you cheaper one even a little bit later. This is a new wave. I made a review on this building also a year ago, as far as I remember, and this is a finished building. The people are living here. There is a sport gym on the second stage. There is a hotel entrance and this way, and there are commercial spaces here, but they are not fulfilled for the moment. And that building on the other side of Alley of Heroes, as I know, it must be finished a couple of years ago, but it still is not finished. But on the first floor there is a furniture shop already, and they are making repairs on the commercial stages. But these stages are not finished yet, as I see. That are like house buildings. I made a review in English, and you can find this review even on this channel. It was made about half a year ago. They are under construction now. It's not very picturesque picture here, but a little bit later I hope they will be okay. But they finished a lot of stages. They finished this block, and they raised about 10 stages on this block. So they are building, I think, fast enough. And we are slightly coming to street Belabusiridze. From this part it's street Chavchavadze, from that part it's street Belabusiridze. This cross of Alley of Hero and Belabusiridze, I think buildings after this only, as you remember, I advised to rent or to buy flats only before this street. Maybe Alley of Heroes shall be a kind of exception, because it is narrow, or it is wide enough, and it is how to say, modern maybe enough. It's one of the biggest malls in Batumi, Black Sea Mall. Behind this building there is a Real Palace building. They are now making, as I see, they are making front side of their building. Behind this it's, as I remember, calligraph maybe. I'll pass by and I'll tell you, because I did not make a review for that building. For this building there is a review in English, and there are also a couple of buildings there that I already made reviews. This is the location of calligraphy towers made by Grand Maison. I did not make a review for this building, but they are building rather fast. I don't know what shall it be after it will be finished, but they are building it fast enough. This building is straight behind the stadium. You see, the further we come from the sea, the less picturesque it looks. But the prices here are falling down and becomes cheaper and cheaper. For example, in Real Palace, it starts from $520, as I remember, and here the prices, as I remember, they are even less. For example, in Gumbati, that is purple and white building, straightforward, the prices was from 430, 450. It's rather far from the sea, but you are walking along the Alley of Heroes, and maybe it's okay. And this is one of things I really appreciate Georgia. Here on the streets there are some water mills, so you can just press and take some water. You can wash your hands, you can drink, it's a clean water, you can drink it, it's absolutely okay. And water is one of the biggest treasures in Georgia, because it is very clean and tasty here. And many people, especially locals, they just drink from in their flats, they just drink water that they receive from the water company, I mean. Not bought in the shop or in the, but And here we come into the middle part, into the uncomfortable for me part for living. It is very tight. It's a mixture of old and new buildings, but as I said, roads here are okay, parking places here are also okay, and the whole infrastructure of a city, it is the most part of hospitals, schools and other places are situated in the middle part of the city. The pleasure of this living area behind Chavchavadze Street is that you can find here some interesting buildings with very interesting style, architectural style, and there live quite rich people, I think, because it's made with stone. It's very interesting. Here is one more picture behind Chavchavadze Street, absolutely random street, absolutely different architecture in every building that is here. It's in new buildings, it's old buildings, and they are all different. It doesn't look like sea town, so it's absolutely a living area. And if it is comfortable for you to live here, so the roads here are okay, the walking streets here are okay, but for me it's very tight and uncomfortable. I don't like to live in the center of the city. Let's continue our way through the middle Batumi, and from the left side of me you can see a new Batumi Central Hospital. It's absolutely new building. It was built on the territory of old Batumi Hospital, and what can I say about healing in Georgia? If you are a citizen of Georgia, you can take medical assistance quite for free. Even if you have any kind of difficult operations, the government shall pay 80% of your debts. And if you are a foreigner, you need to have a health insurance. If you feel that you are not very healthy and you shall often use a hospital or doctor, you shall need a health insurance. It's not very expensive and you can buy it even online. Year health insurance costs about $250 for a person, and it covers quite everything, even emergencies related with your teeth. It's very comfortable, and one visit to a doctor costs about from 60 to 80 laris. It depends in what clinic do you come, in a hospital, in a country hospital, or you come in some medical practice. Some special doctors that work for themselves, or some hospitals commercial, but average it costs from 60 to 80 laris. It means about $20–25. And that visit to a doctor doesn't mean that you pay for one visit, because you pay for solving the problem, and paying these $20–25, you can even come back in a couple of weeks, and if the problem was not solved, he must also help you without taking any further money. I myself have no health insurance. When I need, I just come to a hospital and pay 60–80 laris. I think I'm a rather healthy person, so I didn't buy any insurance. That's how peak time in Batumi looks like. Hundreds of cars are standing and without moving. But there are no big traffic problems in Batumi generally, but from 4 to 6 o'clock, when people are coming from their work to their houses in the central part of Batumi, it's a kind of hell. And this picture is a good explanation why don't I want to live in the central part of the city, I mean in the middle Batumi. You see narrow streets, a lot of people very close to each other blocks, not enough space for parking, for walking, not enough space for everything. You see new built blocks are close to old built blocks, and they compared in one big line. From one side of the street and other side of the street, there is not enough parking space here, quite everywhere in the middle part of Batumi, not enough parking space. And people are very close to each other. When you can choose the old city where there is not so tight, or new city. But in the old city there is a problem of walking tourists that are walking all evening long, chatting, and in New Batumi there is no such problem. It's very shy there. The other very important minus is lessen the amount of the sun. You see, we are walking, it's about 5 o'clock, and you see that there is a sun already, but on these streets where the buildings are very tight to each other, you shall lose some sun in the morning and you shall lose some sun in the evening, so it will be rather dark earlier. And what about cost of services in Batumi? For example, complex washing of your car, sedan I mean, it costs about 10 lari for the whole washing. Hairdresser, my hairdresser, he takes 7 lari for one procedure. It's about $2. So washing car, it's about $2.50. That's our prices on a local market. I mean, there are some prices for tourist market. For example, hairdressers, expats who open here their own hairdressing salons. But there are good masters here who can work with your head for a lower price. But my great advice when you come to Georgia the first time and you choose from very cheap services and just cheap services, you need to take something average. Don't take the cheapest services because you won't be pleased by their quality. It will be very poor. Just pay 1 or 2 lari more. It's not very big money, but you shall receive the greater amount of service. And the other secret, if you pay plus 20 lari, you won't get the better service. You just will receive expat service, and the expats, they want to get much more money for their services. But in many times you can see that expats can provide you with a very good service, especially when we are talking about some technological things. For example, making good repairment in your apartment, making with engineering like this. You should just watch how do they do it, compare it with a lower price, and maybe sometimes there is a reason to overpay. Some expat services I appreciate, but for example expat bars, where do they speak English and take double price for a drink, it's quite the same drink in the local bar where people speak Russian and Georgian, and even maybe they should be much more careful, much more comfortable. And this is one of the most beautiful part of Middle Batumi. It's a park of the 6th May. There is a big lake inside this park, and around there are walking areas with benches, and you can sit here, make Instagram photos and just enjoy. In 5 minutes from this park there is a sea, and this is Hilton Hotel. This building is made by Allianz. It's quite on the zero line behind the sea. Let's take a small picture of Middle Batumi. So before the street of Gargiladze, it's okay with buildings, but it's mixture of all the new buildings, but not so tight. And behind the Gargiladze there becomes absolutely tight built buildings, old ones and new ones, as I showed in the previous skins. And from the left side there is a Batumi Delphinarium. It works, and people come here. It's about 30 lari for visiting. You can have a lot of fun with children. I don't know whether it is interesting for grown-ups to visit Delphinarium, but children like dolphins. It's absolutely 100% information. And my final skin will be at the entrance of Batumi Boulevard again, where we started. There we shall finish. As I said, there are different types of open sport gyms here, and I appreciate this one. So you can have gymnastics here, and it is very comfortable because the pipes are rather solid, and it's very good to be here. See you at the sea. That's it.